You're listening to the Co-Creator Network. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Awakenings. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday so far. I'm still adjusting to the lifestyle here in Austin as compared to the lifestyle in Hawaii. I think my mind is still thinking like a Hawaiian, which, for those of you who don't know, is very laid back. There's no reason to get in a rush. There's no reason to be in a hurry. Oh, we can wait. Tomorrow is just fine. But in Austin, that kind of attitude doesn't get things done. Maybe that's what I should do, is just bring that here. I discovered something this week that I want to share with you. And it relates to the Course. And it relates to inner Ramana and the law of one. But I had not really thought about it in these terms before. Maybe you have. Maybe you've already thought this, and this is old news to you. And if it is, great. I'm really happy that it worked out for you, that you were able to see this. But it was news to me. And that is, there's this thing, and it observes everything. It observes everything. It's the thing. I hesitate to call it me, but I think it is me. It is quietly observing everything that goes on in my life. It's very calm. It's very peaceful. It is the looker. It is the watcher. It is the observer. Yet I can look at that observer. I can look at that observer. What is it then that does the looking? Have you ever asked your question to yourself? Who is looking? Who is listening? Who is the observer that is quietly watching everything? It took me many years to get to the point where, in the middle of a crisis or in the middle of an emotional experience, to be able to recognize that on top or underneath, wherever you want to place this, within the emotional experience, whether or not it be happiness, sadness, tears, joy, depression, pain, any emotional experience that I have, there is another component that watches it. There is a component that watches it, and it's very calm and it's very peaceful. Simply observing. And for years now, I've been in touch with that. But what I have not been aware of is the fact that there is a watcher watching the observer. There is a watcher watching the observer. Who is that watcher? Who is the observer? It's a good question. Very peaceful. If it is all-knowing, I do not have the sense that it is all-knowing at the time that I observe it. But I do get the sense that it is how do I put this? It is, I hesitate to call it the Son of the Creator, but that is what I know that it is. It is the Son. It is the one Son of God. We all share this. We all have this inside. But interestingly, I'm not struck by a sense of awe, and I'm not struck by a sense of fear. not struck by a sense of anything except that it's reverence. Reverence might be the right word. When I observe, or when this thing, who is this observer, there is a reverence, a sense of reverence that comes over me. But it's still very peaceful. Have you ever experienced that before? Do you know what that is? As I was going to bed last night, a thought came into my mind, which is wholly in keeping with the Course, but it's also capable, or I guess when you hear this, it's possible that you would take this phrase and judge it to be a depressing phrase, but it doesn't have to be. It's actually a phrase that can free you. Let's see if I can bring it up on my phone. It doesn't appear that I can bring it up here on the computer. Yeah, here it is. Here's the phrase that came to me. One cannot be happy playing to win the game of life on this planet. The only way to be happy is to not play the game at all. Instead, simply watch and observe with no attachment to the outcome. Then and only then will you be happy. I'm not sure where that phrase came from, but I do know that it relates to this earthly experience, in that there is no permanence here. There is no permanence in the physical. Everything is changing. If you play to win the game of life, and it's important to you to the point that your happiness is tied to the winning, then you will be unhappy. It's guaranteed. Because all winners eventually become losers. All prizes won in the game of life on this planet eventually decay and fall into nothingness. I'm reading the room here. Dove writes, there are no winners in a win-lose game. That's true. There are no winners. Everyone loses. And the only way to win the game is to not play the game at all. Simply be the observer. There is no permanence on this planet. There is nothing you have ever had in the physical on this planet that will be the same later. All flowers eventually die. They wither and die. And you can say, well, all seeds become flowers. That's true. But those flowers eventually do die. Everything that you care for, you love for, you build on this planet, it can be savings in the bank, it could be the new car that you love, it could be anything of physical, will eventually wither and die and decay and rot and go away. It will change. In fact, the only thing of assuredness that you have in this physical world, in every instance that this is true, the only thing that is assured in this physical life is that it will change. Everything eventually dies in the physical. But there is a component that is silently watching the physical, quietly and peacefully and calmly watching everything that goes on within the physical. And that thing, whatever that is, the observer, the watcher, does not die. It does not change. It is constantly peaceful. It is constantly there. So when we attach our happiness to the winning of the game or to the things that change, happiness falls from our grasp. In other words, we're not happy. When we attach our happiness, I will be happy when I get fill in the blank. I will be happy when, and you have some other description that describes when you will be happy. I will be happy if I have $1 million in the bank. I will be happy when my son or daughter grows up. I will be happy when this event happens, or when I get to be this age, or when whatever happens. Those kind of attitudes, or that statement, ties your happiness to some physical event. But it is possible to be happy. In fact, I'll say that it's your natural state. It is possible to be happy regardless of the circumstances of the physical. It is possible to be happy if you have no money in the bank. It is possible to be happy if all of your children die. It's possible to be happy if you don't have physical health. Happiness is a decision that the watcher makes. And happiness comes from the non-attachment to the physical. The non-attachment to the physical. In other words, we can decide to be happy regardless of what happens in our life. Now, what does that sound like? It sounds to me a lot like the attitude that Jesus was teaching us in A Course in Miracles, and also what he was teaching us on the cross. Didn't he teach us that there is no death? Well, he certainly taught us that in A Course in Miracles. And I believe that's what he was teaching us 2,000 years ago on the cross. Didn't he teach us that love is the answer to every question that you may have? Well, he did that also in the Course. He also did that in the Bible 2,000 years ago. Well, how can you get there? How can we get to the point where no matter what circumstances present themselves here on this planet in the physical, how can we get to the point where those things do not affect our happiness? Well, first, we have to realize that those things, I'm talking about the physical, all the things that change here on the planet, those things are not real. That can be frightening to a lot of people who really want the world to be real. They want the physical to be real. They love their children. They love the money in the bank. They love their house, their cars. They love their bodies. They love their friends. They love the existence of living here on the planet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to attach your happiness to those things will guarantee that you will eventually be unhappy. It is not until you realize that those things do not make you happy. Those things do not make you happy. What makes you happy is you. You decide when and how much you will be happy, and at what time you will be happy. You decide what your interpretation of these events will be. This is also from A Course in Miracles, and it's a phrase that we've heard many times. If you're a Course in Miracles student, you know that one of the lessons is happiness is a decision I must make. Actually, it uses heaven, but it's still the same thing. Heaven is a decision I must make. Well, heaven can be replaced with the word happiness. Happiness is a decision I must make. So when we are ready to see the truth, we will be shown the truth. And I believe that I am being shown the truth. In fact, I believe we are all being shown the truth constantly. Sometimes we don't choose to see it, though. Sometimes we choose to believe the dream. Many of us like our cars, our money, our things, our gadgets, the things that we value here in this world of change, the constantly changing illusion, the thing that you could never count on. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making judgments about that. And I'm certainly not saying that anyone is wrong for putting their happiness in the temporary. No, not at all. This is not a judgment at all. All I am doing is sharing what I am learning. I am sharing that I am learning that happiness has nothing to do with the physical. It has nothing to do with my circumstances that I find myself in on this planet. So let me reread the statement that came to me, or the phrase that came to me last night. With this knowledge in hand, and see if we can hear it another way. Here it is. One cannot be happy playing to win the game of life on this planet. The only way to be happy is to not play the game at all. Instead, simply watch and observe with no attachment to the outcome. Then and only then will you be happy. And now we see that the decision to be happy is directly rooted in the part that is the chooser. That thing that I spoke about at the beginning of this talk, the chooser, the observer, that peaceful little quiet thing that's always there. It's always there being peaceful and quiet through the emotional experience. It's always there being peaceful and quiet through every physical encounter. It is the chooser. It is the quiet. It is constant. It is forever. It simply is. That is the thing that I am waking up to, is the best way to put it, I think, or recognizing that it is always there. There's another thing that's happening when I recognize that this is always there, and I mentioned it before. That is a reverence associated with this, a sense of awe and a reverence. And that comes from the fact that simultaneously I recognize it is a gift. It is a gift. The gift of life. And I know that it will be forever mine. It is forever mine. It will never change. Although this body that I am currently inhabiting will eventually wither and die. Everything about this body will eventually stop working. In fact, there are already some things right now that are stopping working. Some functions that are not functioning properly. I'm sure that that's true of every person listening to this. There will be something, some fingernail that's not right, some hair that's not growing right, some muscle that's sore, some bone that's broken, healing. But that's just the physical. And the physical will eventually stop working and go away. But the person that decides how it wants to interpret the physical, or that entity, or that thing, that whatever that is, that decides how it thinks or how it will interpret that, the chooser will always be here, even when the body dies. The chooser decides when it's going to be happy. The chooser decides. Have you gotten in touch with your chooser today? Or are you so wrapped up within the experience, the chooser is buried completely within the emotional experience of the world? Either one is fine. It really doesn't matter either way. It's like it says in the Course, forget this Course. Forget everything you've learned. Let it all go. Because when you let everything go, when you let all of your attachments go, all of your previous decisions about love, your previous decisions about hate, your previous decisions about your life, when you let all of that go, you will eventually fall back to the chooser. When there is nothing else but the chooser still is. He's still there. And the chooser is the one that chose to believe the dream. It's the one who chose to believe that what we experience in this rotting and decaying world is real. So my learning, what I'm learning and remembering, is that this world is not real. This world is simply an experience. Simply an experience. And we can choose to interpret the events in this world as happiness or sadness. We can choose to say, oh, I don't have a husband or a wife. I have no lover. I have no friend. I have no money. I have no fill in the blank. And we can say, those circumstances are going to decide that I'm happy or not. Or we can choose to be happy regardless of our circumstances. We can choose to be happy whether or not someone's nailing nails in our hands. Someone proved that to us before. How do we get there? I'm finding the way to get there is through meditation, through the quietness. When I get myself out of the way, in other words, when I say myself, I'm talking about little Larry. When I meditate, I quiet the part that is the insister, the one that insists on being right, the one that demands things be a certain way in order for me to be happy, the one that says that I know best for me. That part that I've grown so attached to, is the part that I quiet down. I don't listen to that voice. And instead I listen to that peaceful, quiet chooser, the one that decides if it's going to be happy or not. And just let it all go. Let everything that I insist on being right, just let it go. Just let it go. It was going to be going anyway. I mean, there's nothing in this world that's going to be permanent. So just let everything go. Don't insist on things being a certain way. They are going to be as they're going to be, regardless of what our insistence is. They're going to be whatever it is. So when we release our insistence that things be a certain way, what do? We fall back into the peace of the chooser. We fall back into the awareness of the chooser. We fall back into peace. In fact, there's nowhere else to fall but back into truth. That which never changes, that which always is, that which is constant, that which never changes, we must fall back to if we give up our insistence on being right. And if you just allow this to seep into your awareness, you will see that if the world is nothing but shift and change, and there's nothing of permanence in the world, then letting go of the world will naturally allow you to fall back into a world of truth, a world that never changes, a world that constantly is love. It constantly is how you choose to interpret it. As Dove writes in the room, he says, and he's quoting from the Course, "Forget this world, forget this course. Come with an empty mind. Come home."
I can't believe I lost you by holding on too strong. Should I sleep forever or try to carry on? Don't know which way to turn, don't know which way to go. The only thing I know for sure is that I just don't know. Is there someone out there to lead me from this hell? Or is my story almost through? Save me from myself. Can I last another day without you here with me? Should I lay my body down and set my spirit free? Is there someone out there to lead me from this hell? Or is my story all